Welcome to the Speechie Show. Being a speech-language pathologist often means having too much work and not enough planning time. To beat the overwhelm, we're bringing you the tricks and tools that will make your job a little bit easier. Hey everybody, welcome to the Speechie Show. Today we are here with Maureen Wilson from the Speech Bubble SLP.com, and we are talking about SMART goals and goal writing. How are you today, Maureen?
I am good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm really hoping that this is working. So if you are watching, oh no, it says we don't have any watchers yet. Okay. Well, we're doing this on a new platform. We're using the BeLive.tv platform. So hopefully you can see both of us, and we will be asking some questions and getting some input soon. But today we're going to be talking about how to make your goal writing easier and better so that you can track your goals more easily as well. Ooh, it says we have some people. Okay. Yay! So the three of you that are watching right now, I need you to do something. We want to make sure that you can see both of us. Can you see Maureen and me, Carrie? If you can, go ahead and type a comment in just saying that you can see us, because we want to know if it's working.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So while we're doing that, I am Carrie Clark from speechandlanguagekids.com. If you haven't watched this show before, this is the Speechie Show. We do this once a week where I interview another speech-language pathologist, and we talk about a topic of interest. All right, Michelle says she can hear us. Thank you, Michelle.
Yay!
Yay! All right, so today, of course, we are here with Maureen Wilson. She is going to introduce herself in just a moment. But for those of you who are watching, go ahead and write in a comment, what is the hardest type of goal or a type of skill for you to write goals for? Which skills are you struggling the most with your goal writing? Write that in as a comment so that we can address those as we go along.
Yes,
all right,
definitely.
Maureen, tell us about yourself and what you got to give away today.
Well, I am Maureen Wilson, and I author the blog, The Speech Bubble SLP. I also have a Teachers Pay Teacher store where I sell products that I create to help make other speech pathology professionals make their lives easier. And today I'm going to give away my Rubrics bundle. So that's a method of data collection, and the bundle includes language and social language rubrics to help make your data tracking life easier.
Yay! I love rubrics. We're going to talk about that more here in just a little bit. And I am giving away 2 free months in my membership program, which is called the Speech Therapy Solution. And it is videos and support and answering questions, all kinds of help for your job as a speech language pathologist. All right. I see Natasha's on here too. Welcome, Natasha. Okay.
Natasha.
So we're going to go ahead and talk about the 5 points that we're going to get to today, which will help you make your goal writing easier. So the first one we're going to talk about today is thinking about your goal in terms of what happens if a student moves to a new speech language pathologist. Maureen, tell us about how that is important for goal writing.
So when you're writing your goals, something to always be cognizant of is what happens if your student moves away. That means that someone else is going to have to read this goal, understand what you're trying to track, understand what cutoff is for mastery, understand what cutoff is for correct and incorrect response. Because when I first started out, I wrote goals for me to understand. And then I did have a student move and got a phone call saying, what were you looking to do here? So being the young, fresh out of grad school SLP, it's like, oh no, I didn't think about another SLP if they moved. So when I write a goal, I always read it back to myself as if I did not know the student. I did not know their test scores. I didn't know what they were being put in therapy for. So being cognizant of how someone else looks at it helps you realize, is it a good goal or not? Is it well-defined or not?
Perfect. I love that. Okay, so the first thing we want to think about, is your goal good enough that somebody else could pick it up and do exactly what you were intending to do and know all that information? So that's perfect. Okay, if you guys have questions as we go along, or if there is a skill that you have trouble writing goals for and you want us to give you some tips on that, go ahead and type those in the comments. So type in what kinds of skills you're struggling with, any questions you have, and also don't forget to share this Facebook Live with anyone that you think needs some help with goal writing, or just share it on your personal timeline so that other people can find us as well. All right, so the next point we're going to talk about is trying to make sure that your goal is not too complex. Maureen, tell us more about that.
So when we're writing goals, we tend to want to make sure that we're targeting everything we need to. And sometimes it's what I call goal smashing, where you smash 2 or 3 objectives into one goal. And then you're left with a goal that has the student answering a yes/no question using a certain kind of prompt, and they need to respond with cues and without. And there's kind of 4 objectives smashed into one. So
using good sounds.
Exactly. So when we make goals too complex, it's almost making the goal unachievable for the student. And then you're just setting them up for failure because they're not going to be able to meet this goal with all these different parameters all smushed in there. So making sure the goal is simple enough that it's highlighting the area you are trying to collect data on. So your annual goal, you can kind of make a little broad, make specific, and put your different areas in there. But you got to make sure your objectives are clear and concise. Otherwise, it's just going to be the goal that kind of keeps floating around because they may get one part. Now they have to meet the criteria for the other 3, and that goal just keeps cycling around and around.
Yeah. I think one of the things that was really helpful for me to figure out as a school speech language pathologist was that you don't have to write a goal or a benchmark for every skill that the child is lacking every year. So you can prioritize out, especially if you have a student who makes very slow progress or really needs to focus down on one thing to get it. You can just say, okay, here's the top 3 things we're working on this year. Everything else is taking a back burner until we get those big things out of the way. So I think that was helpful for me of making my goals not so complex because I didn't feel like I had to put in everything they were lacking.
That's really common with a lot of people. We want to work on everything. We want to fix everything, but we're kind of limited sometimes of what we can do. So it's kind of figuring out how to curtail some things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay. So the next thing we want to look at is how we are, the set amount of time. So is it realistic for the student to meet what we're setting forth in the amount of time that we have? Let's talk more about that.
What you just said is a perfect segue into this. We want to fix everything, but typically IEPs, therapy plans are written for a calendar year. So when you're writing your goals and say you have a 5-year-old who has a lot of phonological processes or a lot of articulation errors, and you could write 13 objectives for this student, but can you realistically help them meet every single one of those in a year's time frame?
Probably not.
Unless you have a magic wand, and if you do, I would love to borrow it. It's probably not going to happen. So we need to kind of prioritize I always like to think, what are my top 3? You can usually hit 3 within a year, and that means you can kind of denote as much time as you need for each one. If you have 13, you're getting maybe 1 or 2 sessions per sound before you need to give a report. It's not enough time. So making sure that you're writing achievable goals, but time-friendly goals. And a little thing that I've picked up is, say you do have a student who's got a whole bunch of things to work on, pick your top 3, and then if it's an IEP, in the comments section, you can always write, if student achieves, set objectives, before the end of the IEP, you can do an amendment, or you can say, these areas will be, addressed and have data taken on. So you can it's kind of nice because you can remind yourself what you were going to work on. And you can have it written in there so that they know, because they achieve these goals, it doesn't mean that they're just done with therapy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's reassuring to parents as well, because I've had meetings where the parents are like, but what about this other thing they need to work on? And you're like, I know they need to work on it. I promise I do, but it's just on the back burner until we can get the bigger picture kind of settled, So that can be reassuring to parents to see, okay, they haven't forgotten about these skills. They're just working on some other stuff first.
That's right. Got to get the base work done first.
Yeah. I think one of the things that comes up in a lot of schools are the SMART goals, and that's the acronym SMART, S-M-A-R-T. And if you guys are not familiar with that, that is that your goals should be specific, measurable. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget. S-M-A. What was our A?
Attainable.
What was it?
Attainable.
Attainable. That's right. Okay, so that's where I was going with this. Attainable, which is this time-sensitive one, is can they actually meet it? And then realistic and time-sensitive, time-bound. So if your school does work with the SMART goal system, then this is playing right into that as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for those of you who are watching live, make sure you stay on. We have 2 giveaways to do at the end of this show. That will come up just in a couple minutes. And also make sure that you're sharing and commenting if you have any specific types of goals that you're struggling to write, or specific types of skills that you're struggling to write goals with. All right.
Love to help you out.
I think I'm having a little bit of sound trouble on you. It was cutting out a little bit. Yeah. So I'm going to reiterate in case people can hear me better. So what she's saying is if you write a goal saying they have to use a specific tool, so let's say the EET tool, if you write that goal and then that child moves to a different school district, then that school is going to have to buy that tool and that therapist is going to have to use that tool regardless of if she has the training or knowledge on how to use that. So you definitely don't want to write your goals around a specific tool. And I think that goes with AAC devices as well. Because if you write a goal that says they will use their Dynavox whatever to request, and then they don't have that at school that day, then you don't have the ability to work on that goal that day, which is not ideal. All right, let's see. Okay, so we talked about the 5 points. We talked about making sure that if your student moved, somebody else would be able to pick up the goal. We talked about making sure your goals are not too complex, making sure they can realistically be achieved in that set amount of time, making sure you don't need special materials or equipment to do the goal, and then making sure that your goal is written in a way that makes it so that you have a way to collect data. Yes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about favorite resources, and Maureen is going to talk about her favorite way to collect data on goals that are not your typical, 8 out of 10 trials, something that's super measurable. So what do we do if we have a goal or a skill that's not very measurable?
When it comes to goals that are not really concrete, that aren't cut and dry, like articulation tends to be, I love to use rubrics. They allow you to be concrete, but still with some flexibility. You typically with the rubric, you'll have a scale. I use ones that have 1 to 5. 1 will state how much support they need with the goal to get that rating. I also attach kind of a percentage range to it too, just because I still need that hard range to help myself a little bit. But it allows you to be flexible. So with social language goals, these are phenomenal. Because if you've ever tried to take data on maintaining a conversational topic when the child is in their classroom setting, you can imagine the headache that comes with it. And then you're taking tallies and you don't know if you're telling the right thing. Was this a topic thing? Was this a switch? It kind of starts to spiral out of control. It gives you a concrete way to take data on something abstract. So these are also great for fluency goals. So someone had asked about writing fluency goals when it comes to taking data on fluency goals as well, especially if you're looking for a teacher input perspective when they're not with you. This is super easy for teachers to use because they use them all the time. So you can kind of
Can you give an example of what like the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 would represent on a goal? Like you could do a fluency goal or, whatever you're familiar with, but could you give an example of a rubric?
So say you're doing a rubric for, we'll do social language goal. We're having them ask questions. And you want to make sure this is carrying over into the classroom. So you're in the classroom observing. So 1 to 5, your goal may be student will ask questions with, and then your 1 to 5 is going to be the different amount of supports they're going to need. So maybe 1 is they need constant prompting and cues to ask their conversational partner a question. 2, they might need maximum. So you're going to kind of have those limits set. And then, 1 can be a whole 0 to 20% accuracy if you need a hard number. Whereas all the way up to 5 would be no more prompting or cues needed than a typical student would be, and that's your 80 to 100% range. So then I might be in there observing, kind of taking some notes, and then I'll look back when I get done and say, okay, they need me to remind them maybe 3 or 4 times. That's falling into maybe my more minimal to moderate range, and I'll look at where my rating scale is, see where they are, and kind of plug in that number. I also, on the rubrics I use, it has a graph, and so I can kind of plot their progress, which is nice too, especially for parents who kind of get overwhelmed when they see a lot of typing and a lot of numbers. It's easy to follow a trend line. So that's what a rubric will kind of stand out to be. It'll give you the 1 to 5 scale, parameters for each rating, and then looking at the information that you observed or collected, you can then plot out their progress. So it's still a method of accurate data collection. It's just not taking tallies and then counting up 58 single tallies to check their progress on their goal.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, like, if you had a fluency student and you wanted to know how's their fluency in the classroom when you're not in there, you could give the teacher a rating that were, let's say 5 was that they had just a few disfluencies every day, and 1 would be that they had a disfluency every time they spoke. And then you could kind of graduate, through there, maybe there's just, once every hour or a couple times a day, you could have it varied so that you have levels of how disfluent they are without the teacher having to go back to her desk and tally every time she hears it.
Exactly. I'll ask them how fluent they've been in the classroom. Do they hear it? They speak maybe once in a while. It helps to kind of, and because teachers are familiar with rubrics, it really kind of helps to transfer. You're not explaining how this data collection method works. It's, okay, 1 to 5. Here's what each rating is. Where do they fall? And the teacher's like, okay, here. I kind of go through that. I have a day of the week where I go at the end of the day to all my teachers that I'm using rubrics to collect data for. So usually my consultation students, and I'll kind of be like, 1 to 5, and they can tell me their number. I'll usually keep that paper in my office just to kind of keep all the students' paperwork with me. And I'll be like, they'll be 1 to 5, okay, it was a 4. Okay, write it down, on to my next classroom. So it's quick, it's easy. Gotta love those things.
Okay, so Suzanne said that she likes having these functional examples of rubrics. So if you have a skill that you want to hear how we would make a rubric for, go ahead and type that in, and we'll see if we can get to a couple of those. One of the other ones I like to do rubrics for is using AAC, especially if I am pushing into the classroom. Because if I'm standing there hands-on trying to help a child use his AAC device, I'm not going to then go back and sit down and write my data. So I'll do a 1 through 5 of how much support they needed to, let's say, request snack. And so was I doing full hand over hand, or was I doing just a tactile prompt, or just a visual of pointing to the thing, or just a verbal saying use your device, or completely independent. So that would be like my 1 through 5 on an AAC goal. All right. Are you still there, Maureen?
I am.
Awesome. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do our giveaways then. If you are watching with us live, and that would be today on Monday, January 2nd. If you're watching the video later, you don't get to participate. But if you are watching live with us on Facebook right now at 1:38 p.m. Central Time, then you get to participate. So we're going to ask a question. The first 2 people to respond are going to win. So the first one is going to get Maureen's giveaway. And Maureen, tell us what your giveaway is today.
So my giveaway is going to be my rubric bundle. I have pre-made rubrics already set to go, and they are editable too. So if you have those oddball goals, you can still use them. One is for general language goals, and the other is for social language goals. So a lot of those are already done for you.
Perfect. Are those the ones, like you said, there's like a graph at the bottom?
Yes, there is a graph.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm a visual person and I need to see what's going on.
Sure. All right. So if people would like that, but they do not win the giveaway today, where can they find those for you?
They can find them in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. It is the Speech Bubble SLP. Just type it in, it'll come up. And the social language rubrics are the first item you'll see once you log into the store.
Perfect. All right, and then the second person to answer the question correctly will win my giveaway, and that is 2 free months in the Speech Therapy Solution. And if you're not familiar with that, that is my membership program for speech language pathologists. You get a video library full of training videos. a worksheet library full of print and go therapy materials, plus weekly Q&A calls and a Facebook group, and monthly webinars. So all kinds of support for you to make your job as a speech language pathologist a little bit easier. And the winner today gets 2 free months, but if you'd like to check out the information about that, you can go to speechandlanguagekids.com/join, Join, and that will take you over. All right, so here's the question. Are we ready? First 2 people to answer are going to win. The question is, what is the M of SMART goals? So the M in the acronym SMART for goals. The first 2 people to come up with the correct answer will win. The first one will win Maureen's prize. The second one will win my prize. And there is a bit of delay, so we're going to hang tight for a minute because it's going to take a minute. All right. Kristen Imiki says measurable. You are correct, Kristen. All right, Kristen gets the rubrics, and Jennifer Perlman was second with measurable. So Jennifer, you are going to get my membership. All right, Maureen, how do you want Kristen to contact you?
You can send me an email at the Speech Bubble SLP @gmail.com, and I'll set you up with your rubric bundle.
Perfect. And Jennifer, you can email me at Carrie, Carrie, @speechandlanguagekids.com, and my assistant Kenna will get you set up with your 2 free months in the membership. Lots of answers coming in. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate that. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on.
I'm glad you're excited. Me too.
Okay, so I'm wondering if these are in the right order, because now they're all mixed up. I think they came in the right order, though. They're all mixed up on the feed now.
But the name coming down.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. They're all over the place. Okay, it's fine. We're good. We got this, guys. Okay, let's see. So we hope that helped you today. We hope that helped you with figuring out how to write some goals that are measurable and easy to take data on. If you need more tools and tips, you can join us in the Speech Therapy Solution, my premium membership site for speech language pathologists. You can find that at speechandlanguagekids.com/join. And Maureen, tell everybody where they can find more about you and what
you guys can find me at the speechbubbleslp.com. That's my blog. There is a link there for emails too. So if you have questions about a goal, I am more than happy to help you out. So I'm also available on Facebook at the Speech Bubble SLP and Instagram too. So lots of different ways to find me. So hope you do.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you on.
Thank you so much.
Join us next Monday afternoon. We will have Scott from bilinguistics.com coming on, and he will be talking about bilingual speech therapy. So we got some good stuff coming there and some more giveaways as well. So definitely join us on the Facebook page. We do this every Monday. All right. Well, thank you, Maureen, and thank you to everyone who joined us today, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us today on The Speechie Show. We hope today's tips have helped you feel a little less stressed and a little more confident about your work. If you're looking for more stress busters and confidence boosters, we'd love to have you join us in the Speech Therapy Solution, where you'll get access to a huge library of premium training videos and another library of print and go therapy materials. You can also get help with your tough cases by joining Carrie on the weekly Q&A calls or by posting in the exclusive Facebook group. Plus, group members can join us for a monthly webinar that can be used for continuing education credit. Head on over to speechandlanguagekids.com/join to check out all the amazing benefits of the Speech Therapy Solution membership. Bye for now.